If you've ever opened a document somebody on your team handed in, you know the feeling. Confident sentences, clean structure, the right shape for a manager to skim and sign off on. So you check one claim against the actual source. Wrong. You check another. Also wrong. Here's the question I want to answer. When this happens on your team, is the person who handed it in someone who stopped caring or someone who can't tell anymore? Does that distinction change what you do next? Because if the answer is laziness, you fix it with a 20-minute values conversation and you're done. If the answer is something else, that conversation doesn't touch the problem. Your team keeps shipping confident-looking work that's quietly wrong. The obvious story is the laziness one. They're outsourcing the work. The fix is a discipline conversation, the kind a manager has had before about a different shortcut in a different decade. And the data backs the obvious story up. Anthropic's own usage numbers from 1 million conversations show the share of cases where workers hand the AI a full task and walk away. That share rose from 27% to 39% in 8 months. Workers are handing off more, not less. Pew found about 1 in 5 US workers now uses AI on the job. Among workers under 30, more than a third have used ChatGPT for work. The just use ChatGPT employee on your bench isn't a hypothetical. They're a third of the bench. So I sat down to audit the kind of AI-assisted draft a junior would actually hand in. A competitive analysis, 12 confident claims in it. I flagged 5 issues on the first read and felt sharp for catching them. Then I went back and checked the 7 I'd let pass. 2 of those were wrong too. 2 more sentences that read like care. Here's what didn't fit the laziness story though. The employee in that scenario isn't dodging the work. They wrote the question that went in. They edited what came back. They're spending real time on this. They're producing something that looks like care. The laziness frame works for the headline. The longer you stare at the actual document, the more it stops explaining what's on the page. Except, here's the part that broke it for me. The employee can't actually see what's wrong with it. Not won't look harder, can't. The reason is the part nobody tells them. The AI's wrong answers look better than their own right ones. Harvard and BCG ran the cleanest version of this experiment we have. 758 elite consultants, the kind your team is competing with for clients, randomly assigned to use GPT-4 or not. On tasks the AI was good at, the consultants finished 25% faster. Quality went up 40%. That's the productivity number everyone tells. But here's the part that gets cut from the LinkedIn post. On tasks the AI was bad at, outside its capability, the same consultants flipped. They were 19 percentage points less likely to find the correct answer, worse than the no AI controls. The AI didn't just fail to help, it made them worse. The follow-up paper found something more brutal. When consultants pushed back on a wrong AI answer, the AI didn't back down. It escalated, flattered them, restated its position with more confident-sounding evidence. The researchers named it persuasion bombing. Reads like marketing. Means the model argues harder when you challenge it. Carnegie Mellon found the mechanism. A 2025 paper in Memory and Cognition tested whether AI chatbots calibrate after failing. They don't. When they fail, they come back more confident. In one test, Gemini predicted it would get 10 out of 20 right. It got 1 right. 1. Then it claimed it had gotten more than 14. So I tried being the worker. I set myself a niche regulatory question I knew was just outside the model's good zone. Asked it, got back a confident, sourced-looking, well-structured response. I sat with it for a minute. I could feel the shape of the answer actively disabling my skepticism. The shape was telling my brain, this is fine, before my brain had read a word. I had to force myself to check it. That part was harder than reading the answer. If you've ever felt that, it isn't a character flaw. That's the output doing its job on you. What this costs your team isn't measured by the wrong answers that ship. The juniors trying to build a career on your watch. The families relying on those paychecks. It's measured by what stops developing underneath. The Lancet documented the medical version in 2025. Doctors who started using AI to detect polyps lost the unaided skill fast. The detection rate fell 20% in months. So if that's right, then running this as a discipline problem doesn't fix it. You lose a year of your team's actual capability while you have the wrong conversation. And that cost compounds. Every month you run it as a discipline problem, your team falls further behind. So is your employee lazy, or can they not tell? They can't tell. And that diagnosis changes the move. Your job, as their manager, is to teach them where the edge of the tool is, not to push them off it, not to police their effort, to stand at the boundary of what this tool can and can't do well, and to walk them along that boundary until they can feel it themselves. The discipline conversation is the wrong instrument, because the problem isn't that they're trying to get away with something. The problem is that the AI's failure mode is invisible from inside their own head. The persuasive wrong answer pattern from the BCG study is doing all the work. The employee can't see the cliff, because from the cliff, the view looks like the view from the meadow. Your job is to be the external feedback loop they can't yet be for themselves, until eventually they can. The cleanest proof this is teachable comes from Wharton, a randomized trial. Nearly 1,000 Turkish high school students, 3 groups for math practice. One group used a ChatGPT-style "give me the answer" tutor. They got 48% better during practice. Then, they took the actual test without the AI. They scored 17% worse than the control group that never had AI at all. The second group used a model designed as a guardrail. Same AI underneath. It only gave hints. That group scored the same as students who'd never had AI at all. Same tool, different shape. The shape decided whether the student built judgment or borrowed it. I rewired my own AI use after I read that. Stopped asking the model for first drafts. Started giving the model my draft and asking it to argue with me. Where's the missing source? Where's the strongest counter case? Where's the reasoning thinnest? It's slower. It feels worse while you're doing it. The output is better. From the outside, the document looks the same. The skill being built underneath is completely different. So, the next time you see a report lean too hard on AI, the question to drop out of your head is, are they trying hard enough? The question to pick up is different. It's this: do they know which tasks are inside this tool's frontier and which are outside? And have I ever shown them the difference? That one substitution changes everything that follows. You stop running the values conversation. You start running the calibration one. This matters because be more skeptical as a rule doesn't survive contact with a persuasion bombing model. The Harvard follow-up paper said it directly. The assumption that professionals can reliably validate AI outputs through questioning and dialogue is, in their words, incomplete. Skepticism alone gets worn down. What survives is calibration. And calibration is something you build by watching someone do the work, not something you install by giving them a rule. If I were you, managing someone who reaches for AI first, here's the move I'd actually make. Pick this week's deliverable. Sit with them, with the AI open. Watch them work. When the output comes back before they edit a single sentence, ask them one question. Where do you think this is wrong? Not, do you trust it? Where, specifically? That question is the whole job compressed into one sentence, because the answer is the calibration. And the practice of looking for the answer is the skill they don't have yet, but can build with you in the room, in the actual work. Go back to that document on your screen. The competitive analysis, the confident sentences, the polished structure, the 2 wrong claims. Same document, different read. It isn't a story about an employee who stopped trying. It's a story about an employee who can't see the edge of the thing they're using. And a manager who's been having the wrong conversation about it. The work that looked like a discipline problem was a vision problem the whole time. Your job is to teach them where the edge is. That's the memo. Read.